The whisper of opposites. A candle lit in a dark room. The flame dances, timid yet steady. And suddenly, you realize the darkness has not disappeared. It has drawn closer, embraced the flame, and, paradoxically, sustained it. It is in this meeting between shadow and light that the story of the law of polarity begins. There is something that has always stood before us, yet is rarely understood. A forgotten principle, buried in ancient books and whispered through esoteric traditions. While modern science prefers to call it duality, the ancient masters recognized in it a living code that upholds existence, the law of polarity. It is not merely an abstract concept. It is the reason day and night exist, the reason we feel joy and sorrow, heat and cold, silence and sound. Everything the soul touches arranges itself in pairs, in contrasts, in opposites that do not fight against each other but sustain the dance of reality. And yet, the human mind insists on seeing these opposites as enemies. We want the high without the low, gain without loss, life without death. But the ancient law whispers, nothing exists alone. There is no light without shadow, no fullness without emptiness. Imagine a string pulled taut. On one side, the high pitch, on the other, the low. And it is precisely the tension between these extremes that gives birth to music. So too is existence, a symphony born of the constant friction between poles. The alchemists knew this. The mystics lived by it. And even today, in small daily gestures, the universe reminds us of this law. A tear that falls after intense laughter. A deep silence that only makes sense because voices once exploded before it. A longing that exists only because once there was presence. This principle is not a distant idea. It is a reality pulsing within the heart of every human being. That is why hidden traditions called it the forgotten law. For when remembered, it changes how we see pain, fear, failure. Instead of monsters, they become portals. But what would happen if we discovered that what we most reject is not our enemy, but the very foundation that sustains our reality? The dance of two worlds. A sunrise on the horizon. On one side, the sky still carries the weight of night. On the other, the timid gold of dawn begins to expand. And for a few minutes, there is no night, no day. Only the meeting, the fusion of two worlds. It is in this liminal space that the law of polarity reveals itself most clearly. Because everything, absolutely everything, breathes in pairs. The earth spins between poles, north and south. The heart beats between systole and diastole. The body moves between inhale and exhale. The soul walks between hope and fear, love and absence, silence and cry. These poles are not enemies. They do not cancel each other out. They exist because one sustains the other. Just as cold can only be felt because we know heat. Just as joy is only recognized because one day we cried. The ancients said that life is a dance. And in this dance, opposites do not fight. They circle around each other, like invisible partners who, by moving together, sustain the rhythm of the cosmos. Modern physics still echoes this mystery. A magnet, for instance, never exists with only one pole. If we try to tear away the negative pole, it immediately recreates itself. If we seek only the positive, the negative is reborn beside it. It is the invisible field between them that gives strength, order, and direction. So it is with human existence. Without the poles we so strongly reject, there would be no field to sustain our very life. And yet, the mind resists. It wants to live only the summer, forgetting winter. It craves triumph, but refuses failure. It longs for love without ever tasting the flavor of fear. But the universe does not work this way. It does not deliver only one pole. It delivers the whole. For it is in contrast, in the movement between extremes, that fullness manifests. Imagine a pendulum. The farther it swings to one side, the more force it gathers to move to the other. This oscillation is inevitable, and within it the soul's learning is revealed. The movement is eternal. The mistake lies only in thinking one side is cursed, when in truth both are teachers. This dance of two worlds teaches us something simple and at the same time profound. Reality is not static. It is movement, and within this movement, polarity guides us like a secret compass. But what happens when we identify only with one side of the dance? When we cling to the pole we love and reject the one we fear? What remains when we try to live only half of reality? The prison of the in-between. A white room, without windows, without doors. No shadows, no intense light. Only a warm clarity, constant, unchanging. At first, it feels comfortable, but with time, it becomes suffocating. This is the invisible prison where the ego loves to hide. The in-between. The human mind fears extremes. It longs for pleasure, but cannot bear the intensity of pain. It seeks victory, but refuses any possibility of defeat. It wants only love, but never to touch the raw face of abandonment. And so, we end up living in a neutral zone, a lukewarm existence, not hot, not cold. It is the desperate attempt to erase half of reality, as if it were possible to erase shadow and keep only the light. But the price is high. For whoever erases one pole, erases fullness as well. How many times have we fled from silence out of fear of what it might reveal? How many times have we numbed ourselves to avoid feeling pain, and with it lost true joy as well? It is like someone covering every mirror in the house out of fear of facing wrinkles, and at the same time losing the chance to see their own smile. The prison of the in-between feels safe, but it is precisely what feeds suffering. For when we deny the extremes, we also deny the learning. And the universe, patient but relentless, continues to bring us situations that force us to face what we reject. Imagine a frozen lake. The surface is stable, cold, silent. But beneath it, the water pulses in current. The ego tries to live only on the still surface, believing it is protected. But sooner or later, the structure breaks, and the current of emotions rises to the surface. No one can escape forever from the force of the poles. It is at this point that the soul whispers, "The pain you run from may be the very key you seek." For what we reject so strongly holds, within itself, the portal to expansion. Those who flee from solitude never discover the depth of their own company. Those who flee from loss never discover the true value of what they have. Those who flee from shadow never find the light shining behind it. This is the paradox of polarity. The rejected extreme is, in truth, the portal to liberation. And the more we resist looking at it, the more it insists on appearing, in our pains, in our relationships, in the repeating cycles of life. And then, the question settles like an echo. Could the pain you run from hold the very key you seek? The altar of alchemy. An ancient laboratory, lit only by the flame of an oil lamp. Glass flasks hold golden and crimson liquids. An alchemist watches in silence, as if each drop were a secret of the universe. But deep down, he was not seeking to turn metals into gold. He sought something far greater, to transform life's opposites into spiritual power. Ancient alchemy was not a science of formulas, but of symbols, and its greatest secret lay in the law of polarity. For them, there was no gold without lead, no spirit without matter, no light without shadow. It was in the union of opposites that the philosopher's stone was found, not a literal stone, but a state of consciousness. Polarity was seen as an invisible altar. On one side, death, on the other, life. On one side, pain, on the other, ecstasy. And in the center, the flame of transmutation, consuming one pole and fusing it with the other. One symbol represented this mystery perfectly, the Ouroboros, the serpent that bites its own tail. It is circle, it is cycle, it is eternal return. There is no beginning or end, no separation between predator and prey. What seemed to be destruction is also creation. What seemed to be an ending is also rebirth. The Ouroboros reminds us that everything we reject inevitably returns until we learn to integrate it. It is pain that returns as shadow. It is fear disguised in repetition. It is failure that insists until it is seen as part of learning. The alchemists taught, the sun is recognized only because the moon precedes it, and the spirit blooms only because matter challenges it. This is the alchemy of opposites. It is not about defeating one side, but uniting them. For true wealth does not lie in eliminating shadow, but in converting it into fuel for the light. And if we look within, we will see that the same law moves inside us. Every tear holds the potential to become compassion. Every loss holds the potential to reveal detachment. Every silence holds the potential to reveal the voice of the soul. This is the altar of alchemy, the inner space where opposites cease to fight and become teachers. But one question lingers, like a whisper between the ancient walls of the laboratory. If polarity is the altar, how do we transform opposites into inner power? The ritual of the mirror, a silent room. On the wall, an ancient mirror. The glass bears the marks of time, yet still reflects with clarity. Someone approaches. The eyes search only for the surface, but the mirror insists on showing more than appearance. It reveals what hides beneath. The mirror never lies. But it never judges either. It simply returns what is already there. And perhaps that is why it feels so uncomfortable to face it for too long. In the reflection, we do not see only the qualities that make us proud. We also see the flaws we try to conceal, the wrinkles of the soul, the marks that do not fade, the shadows we avoid recognizing. The law of polarity invites us to make peace with this reflection. Not to reject what hurts, but to integrate it. For the shadow dwelling within us is not an enemy. It is only the other half of the light we seek. That is why the ancient mystics spoke of the ritual of the mirror, a simple yet powerful exercise. Stand before a mirror in silence. Look into your own eyes, and allow for a few moments not only your qualities to appear, but also what you fear within yourself. Do not turn away. Do not hide. For it is in this act of looking without judgment that polarity becomes inner power. It is easy to love the beautiful part we reflect. Harder is to recognize the flaw as part of the same light. But it is precisely there that alchemy happens. When we understand that we are whole, light and shadow, strength and fragility, we discover a freedom that does not depend on external approval. The mirror, then, ceases to be an enemy. It becomes a teacher, because when we face the reflection, we learn there is no perfection without imperfection, no beauty without scars, no light without shadow. This ritual is also a reminder of something greater. Every person who crosses our path is a mirror, The friend who supports us reflects the love we already hold within. The enemy who wounds us reflects the shadow we have yet to accept. Each encounter is a polished surface, returning hidden parts of our soul. And then arises the question that echoes deep within the heart. What if every person who hurts you were only another mirror? The game of reflections. A room full of mirrors, each at a different angle. Whoever steps inside soon discovers there is not just one reflection, but dozens, multiplied, distorted, stretched, curved. Some appear beautiful, others grotesque. And yet, all are projections of the same figure. So it is with our relationships. Every person we meet is like a secret mirror, revealing hidden parts of ourselves. At times reflecting what we love. At times returning what we try to deny. The law of polarity manifests vividly in the human field. The friend who inspires may be the reflection of our forgotten light. The partner who challenges may be the reflection of our unhealed wound. The enemy who irritates may be the reflection of the shadow we refuse to accept within. It is a silent yet profound game. We do not react to people as they truly are, but as mirrors of what we are. The ancient sages called this the law of reflections. They said no one crosses our path by chance. Every encounter is pedagogical. Every relationship is a laboratory of the soul, where polarity reveals itself in living flesh. The partner who awakens passion also awakens fear. The stranger who stirs rejection brings hidden insecurities to the surface. The master who inspires exposes the power we have not yet dared to claim. That is why so many relationships seem to repeat in cycles. It is not bad luck. It is learning. Life insists on placing the same mirror before us until we recognize it. And once we recognize it, it ceases to be an enemy and becomes a guide. Here is a practical exercise. The next time someone stirs in you an intense reaction, be it love, anger, or fear, pause. Ask yourself, what is this reflection trying to show me about myself? Perhaps it is not about the person. Perhaps it is about the part of you they illuminated or touched. And in that instant, the game of reflection ceases to be torture and becomes initiation. The soul learns to integrate not only the light it encounters in others, but also the shadow. For we are not only what we display, we are also what we project. And when we accept this, we discover that every encounter is a piece of the path back home. But then arises the inevitable question, echoing like an invitation to the next portal. What happens when we truly accept both the shadow and the light within us? The portal of unity, an ancient meditation hall. At its center, a circular painting, the yin-yang. But instead of static, it seems alive. The two forces spin like currents of water, touching, separating, blending, constant movement. They are not enemies. They are lovers in an eternal embrace. It is here that the law of polarity reveals its deepest secret. When opposites cease to be fought, a third force is born. A force that is neither light nor shadow, but consciousness. Neither fear nor love alone, but the fusion of both into something greater. The ancients called this the portal of unity. For it is in the recognition of opposites that the soul awakens beyond them. When we accept joy without rejecting sorrow. When we accept life without denying death. When we accept victory without despising defeat. In that instant, we are no longer divided. Polarity ceases to be a prison. It becomes a door that does not lead us to choose one side or the other, but to integrate both. And in this integration arises the dynamic balance we call consciousness. It is like the bow of a violin. Pulled to only one side, there is no sound. Pulled to both, music is born. Unity does not destroy the poles. It sets them to play together. The yin-yang symbol reminds us of this. Many think of it as static, a fixed circle in perfect balance. But in truth, it is movement. Night becomes day. Winter becomes summer. A tear becomes a smile. Emptiness becomes fullness. Nothing remains still. When we look at this symbol, we are reminded there is no end and no beginning. There is only flow. And within this flow, the soul finds its true home. But then a question opens, like a veil pulled by invisible hands. If this law is so essential, so evident, and so powerful, why was it forgotten? The veil of forgetting. In ancient theater, the curtains close slowly, hiding the stage. We know the actors are still there, yet we can no longer see them. All that remains is the veil, a barrier that conceals, but does not erase. So it is with human reality. The law of polarity has not disappeared. It continues to sustain every breath, every emotion, every movement of the earth. But it has been covered, hidden, forgotten. What? Because those who remember this law awaken a silent power. A power that does not depend on external control, on dogmas, on systems. For when someone understands that shadow and light are inseparable, they become free. And nothing frightens a world built on control more than inner freedom. The modern matrix prefers false extremes. Right against wrong. Winners against losers. Us against them. Left against right. These divisions feed conflict, fear, separation. They are distractions, red curtains that hide the true stage, the dance of polarity. While we believe in these artificial divisions, we forget the essential law. And we begin to fight against half of ourselves. Like soldiers summoned to a war that can never be won. The ancients knew this forgetting would be inevitable. They called it the night of the soul. A period in which humans would be trained to see only one side of the coin, believing the other was a curse. But they also said a time would come when the veil would begin to tear. And that is now. We can perceive it in the small signs. Global crises revealing the contrast between destruction and rebirth. Individual pains that push us inward, in search of meaning. Meetings and farewells that force us to accept both the beauty and the fragility of life. The veil of forgetting was placed to test us, to train us, so that when we cross it, we not only remember the law, but live it with awareness. But then arises the inevitable question, like a blade slicing through the theater curtain. How do we reactivate this law in daily life, even in the midst of chaos? The path of balance. A tightrope walker crosses a rope suspended between two buildings. On one side, the wind pulls with force. On the other, the void invites fear. Each step is fragile, each movement must be conscious. But it is precisely there, on the narrow line between extremes, that the true art of balance is born. So it is with life. We are called to walk between poles, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, gain and loss. And along the way, the secret is not in denying one side, but in giving thanks for both. The law of polarity does not ask us to reject pain. It asks us to recognize it as a teacher, that alongside pleasure we also offer it reverence. For each pole carries a lesson that can only be learned in contrast with the other. Here is a simple yet transformative exercise. At the end of the day, close your eyes and recall two moments, one pleasant, one uncomfortable. Breathe deeply and say to both, "Thank you, teacher." This small practice restores power to the soul. because it teaches that no experience is wasted. Everything, absolutely everything, is part of the crossing. The ancients called this finding the neutral point. It is not coldness nor indifference. It is the inner space where we are bound neither to one pole nor the other. It is like the center of the pendulum, still even when everything around swings. It is like the silence between two musical notes, invisible yet necessary for the melody to exist. In this neutral point, the soul rests, not because it eliminated the extremes, but because it learned to inhabit them without being dragged away. This is true balance, not the absence of contrast, but conscious presence within it. And here arises a powerful insight. Balance is not the final destination. It is only the portal. For when the soul finds this point, it discovers there is something beyond the poles. Something that cannot be described in words, but only felt as silent expansion. But then the mystery opens, like an unexpected horizon. What if balance were not the end, but only the beginning of another reality? Rebirth between opposites. A symphony begins in silence. A conductor raises the baton, and suddenly the notes emerge, deep and high, fast and slow, soft and intense. Each sound gains meaning because its opposite exists, and what could be mere chaos becomes music. So it is with life, a symphony of opposites. Not a war between poles, but a constant dialogue. And it is within this dialogue that the soul discovers its true voice. For centuries, we were taught to fight against shadow, to run from pain, to reject silence. But the law of polarity, forgotten and hidden, has always whispered that fullness is not born from denial. It is born from integration. It is not necessary to choose between joy and sorrow, between victory and failure, between light and shadow. Life does not ask for choice, it asks for presence. For each pole is a teacher, and their union is initiation. It is like breathing, inhale and exhale. If we keep only one side, we die. Life happens only in the complete cycle. It is like the heart, contraction and expansion. If only contraction, there is rigidity. If only expansion, there is collapse. Life pulses because both alternate, and the soul pulses the same way, between incarnation and disincarnation, between presence and absence, between silence and word. This is rebirth between opposites. When we finally understand that life is not fragmented, but continuous. That shadow is not an enemy, but guardian of the light. That pain is not a curse, but a portal to healing. That death is not an end, but a new beginning in another frequency. The ancients said true freedom is born when we become space. The space where opposites meet without conflict. The space where light and shadow dance without needing to win. This space is the awakened soul. And within it, there is no division. There is only flow. When you embrace both shadow and light, you are no longer divided. You become the very space where opposites reconcile. And in that space, the freedom of the soul is born.